Welcome to Harrowing Tales, where the most chilling stories await you. Tonight, I'll guide you through a tale that might just linger in your mind long after the lights go out. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share where you're watching from and the time. It's always darkest before dawn, isn't it? Now, get comfortable, relax, and let's step into the shadows together. The small town of Ravenswood had a legend that no one dared to challenge. Deep in the forest, beyond the old stone church, lay an abandoned railway tunnel. Locals called it the Whispering Tunnel. No one knew its original name or why it had been sealed off with rusted iron gates, but every resident could recount tales of those who ventured inside and never returned. For years, 17-year-old Emma had dismissed the stories as nonsense. Ghost stories for kids, she scoffed. But when her older brother Jason dared her to explore the tunnel on Halloween night, she couldn't resist. Armed with a flashlight and her phone, she set off into the woods under the pale glow of a crescent moon. The forest was silent, save for the crunch of leaves under her boots. The tunnel loomed ahead, a black maw framed by crumbling bricks and twisted vines. The gates had been pried open long ago, the iron bars bent like skeletal fingers. A chill swept through the air as Emma stepped inside. Her flashlight beam revealed the moss-covered walls and ancient graffiti. "No big deal," she muttered, her voice echoing faintly. But as she ventured deeper, a faint sound reached her ears. It was a whisper, so soft it could have been the wind. Emma. She froze. Her name echoed faintly, twisting and distorting as it bounced off the walls. "Jason, if this is a prank, it's not funny," she shouted. Her voice sounded small and hollow against the oppressive darkness. There was no reply. The whispers grew louder. They were not singular but layered, overlapping voices speaking in a language she couldn't understand. Panic rising, Emma spun around, shining her flashlight in every direction. The beam fell on a faint outline at the far end of the tunnel. A figure, pale and translucent, stood motionless, its face obscured. "Who's there?" Emma's voice cracked. The figure stepped forward, and as it did, the whispers coalesced into a deafening roar. The flashlight flickered, plunging the tunnel into darkness. Emma scrambled for her phone, its feeble screen light barely illuminating her trembling hands. She turned to run, but the tunnel seemed longer now, endless. The iron gates were nowhere in sight. Instead, the walls seemed to close in, the air growing colder and heavier with each step. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. A hand, cold and clammy, brushed against her shoulder. Emma screamed and whipped around, but no one was there. Instead, the figure loomed closer, its face now visible. It was not human. Its hollow eye sockets and gaping mouth seemed to stretch infinitely, as if it were consuming the very darkness around it. "You shouldn't have come," the voices hissed in unison. Emma ran, her legs burning, tears streaming down her face. She didn't know how long she sprinted before she stumbled out of the tunnel and collapsed onto the forest floor. She turned back, expecting to see the iron gates, but the tunnel was gone. In its place stood a solid wall of earth, as if it had never existed. When she returned to town, No one believed her story. The old railway tunnel, they said, had been sealed for decades. Some whispered that it had collapsed long ago, burying several workers alive. Emma never went near the forest again. But late at night, when she was alone in her room, she swore she could still hear the whispers.